Hare Krishna. Temporary relief from self-inflicted torture is not pleasure. Suppose a person is caught in a noose and is being dragged by the noose around the neck, and the person is being dragged by the noose. And while being dragged thus by the noose, that person is temporarily given some relief. So the noose that is dragging causes pain on the neck, and for some time, when that pulling is stopped, at that time the person gets some relief, and then that person is pulled again, and then again there is relief. Now, when such a thing happens, that person will feel miserable. And suppose that person has put that noose around oneself, and that noose is being dragged by an animal. That animal is running wildly and this person is getting dragged. So now you may say, why are you putting that noose around yourself? Take out the noose, you'll be free. But suppose that person says, when I'm no longer being dragged by the animal, that time I feel so much relief. Actually, it is pleasure. But that is not pleasure. Temporary relief from self-inflicted torture is not pleasure. Temporary relief, having the noose around one's neck and letting oneself be dragged around by that noose around the neck, that is self-inflicted torture. And getting a temporary relief from that self-inflicted torture is not pleasure. It is misery within which there is just little relief. To call that pleasure is actually complete misunderstanding of what pleasure is. It's monstrous misunderstanding of what pleasure is. Unfortunately, that is what happens to us in the materialistic conception of life, especially when we are driven by excessive sensuality. In the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Asha pashashatair baddha kama krodha parayanaha ihante kama bhogartham anyayenartha sanchayan. So Krishna says, Asha pashashatair baddha. Asha pashashatair baddha. That one is bound by a rope. Asha pash. So when one is dragged by a rope, then the desires act like a rope, like a noose which drag us around, and not just one. Shatair baddha. We have hundreds of desires which bound us like this. And then what is the hope for relief for us? The hope for relief is becoming free from those desires. This doesn't mean we become desireless, rather we become careful about which desires we choose, which desires we choose to which we dwell on, which desires we let them develop. Then we can move onward steadily towards progress and success. First, we need to recognize that what we call as pleasure. So suppose some desire catches us. Suppose a person, alcoholic, gets the urge to drink alcohol. Now that person may say, oh, when I drink alcohol, I get so much pleasure. But actually, what happens is, that person, when the person is the alcoholic gets the urge to drink alcohol, it's like that desire is like a noose which is dragging that alcoholic. Come. The alcoholic is dragged to the bar or wherever the alcohol is there, and there is no relief till that person drinks alcohol. So it's that drag is the pain, and when the person drinks the alcohol, there is relief. But after that there is hangover, and after the relief from the hangover, again the next day there is further desire to drink. So that drag. So in this way, far from pleasure, there is overall misery, and within that whole cycle of misery, a temporary relief from that misery is called as pleasure. Rather than letting ourselves be misled by such pleasure, we need to recognize what is real pleasure and seek that near real pleasure. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahaya sparsheshva saktatma vindatyatmani yat sukham sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Bahaya sparsheshva saktatma. He says, when we turn away from outer pleasures, and when we turn towards Krishna, towards inwards, turn towards the soul and ultimately towards the super soul, then we get sukham akshayam ashnute. We get unlimited happiness. So to get that unlimited happiness, we have to first of all recognize that what we consider as happiness is simply misery. It is simply misery, and when we turn away, Bahyasparsheshva asaktatma, when we become detached from external pleasures and seek inner pleasures, then we will get lasting happiness. Thank you. Hare Krishna.